Hi guys, so let's take a look at the consequences of economic inequality. When we talk about economic inequality, we're talking about disparity between wealth and income between different groups in society. Okay, so different groups in society will have different earnings, different wealth statuses from others. Okay, there's potential advantages and potential disadvantages to this. Okay, so it's important you take a balanced view before actually reaching any judgment on inequality as a concept. Okay, the first argument really is about the fact that it can help to drive economic growth. Case in point, of course, the Chinese economy, which was run under Mao Zedong as a strictly communist, command-based economy where people's economic freedom was suppressed. In 1978, Deng Xiaoping began those reforms in China, and inequality has increased quite significantly. From a Gini coefficient of 0.3 up to about 0.47 in about 2014, I think. Okay, so yes, it can drive economic growth because it encourages people to be productive. It encourages people to invest, to take risks as entrepreneurs, and actually think about developing their own human capital by undertaking education, training, and furthering their skills so that they can be more productive in different job roles. So all of that, when that's taken as a collective, can really help to actually boost economic growth and real output. Further to that, some can argue that it can actually increase fairness, and that is because you're actually incentivized to actually work hard. So if you carry out lots of hard work and you really invest in yourself, then you could expect to have certain rewards perhaps as a result of that. Okay, there are potential disadvantages though, and this is the complete opposite here. Okay, inequality restricts economic growth. Well, others would argue that a high level of inequality is associated with negative social consequences, which would include mental illness and other health-related issues, as well as high crime rates. And there you've got economic inactivity, as well as the economic cost of maintaining and dealing with those social consequences that are occurring. So that can really help to restrict economic growth, it's argued. Okay, now further to that, we can also see that inequality has large social costs, as we've alluded to really there, on health, life expectancy, attitudes to education, which is a really interesting one, and crime rates. Okay, so if you're on the other side of the coin here, and you are below the average standard of living in the economy, perhaps you live in relative poverty, then it may well be the case that your family has a poorer attitude to education than those that have actually invested in themselves and have actually received the rewards from that. Okay, so that's another interesting point there, and we've got crime rates, of course, which can be a problem in areas of high unemployment and where there is social deprivation. Okay, then we've got this next point. Economic inequality may increase political inequality. So we've seen this point about attitudes to education, but attitudes to politicians may also come under that umbrella, that you think that no one's actually looking out for you, no one cares about the social class of people that you actually belong to. So this can also pose a problem, but it can also pose a problem as perhaps that you don't actually have anyone from your sort of background that represents you within the Westminster political establishment, perhaps. Okay. Now, further to that, of course, there's a big drag on the fiscal budget here of these social consequences. Okay. So the fact that high unemployment will need to be provided for when it comes to welfare and unemployment benefits is not great news, of course. There's a massive amount of economic inefficiency and unemployment when it's very high. So yeah, there's a number of problems that can come about as a direct consequence here. Okay, so this is highly contentious, this, but it's, as I said, really important that you take a balanced view when it comes to this. So in our next session, we'll have a look at ways in which we can correct inequality, okay, and redistribute inequalities in wealth, if that's what you'd like to do. Okay, right, thanks guys.